In this invective, I plan to fully analyze the character and virtue of the character Pericles, using his speeches, ideas, thoughts, and intentions behind them as my main fuel and source for his character traits. Pericles is a character/figure who is worthy of many praises for what he did and said when his actions/words are put into actual use in real life. His words help those who need to hear them in cases such as funeral oration. However, when reading into the action, intent, and meaning and decision-making behind those words he chose for making those speeches, there can be a lot of blame put on him, especially when knowing how his decision-making made certain outcomes happen. Pericles' key vice is greed, and the reason I say vice rather than virtue is while Pericles has traits that can be praised, it's mainly his actions and skills in the rhetorical and speaking realm that deserve praise, not his intentions, values, and virtues as a human being. And while they may end up being praised and deserving, thanks to the fact that those who hear his speeches do end up being uplifted and helped by them, greed, in my opinion, is defined by these things. Greed is, in my opinion, the overwhelming constant desire for more. And this vice is especially an issue to be contained by someone like Pericles, who is a prominent leader and voice in a democratic city and state, which is supposed to hold and have values that combat things like overwhelming greed. However, it was due to Pericles' greed that this war even happened, because he was pushing for them to expand and because he desired more land, even when it wasn't necessary for them. And then when the time came for him to take responsibility for his greed and his desire, in this speech that he took for a funeral for all the men that he died for his cause, for his greed and the democracy, for the fear of losing his status and position in life, he decided to double down on the idea that people should be happy to lay down their lives for the sake of his greed. In my opinion, this is Pericles' worst deed. What I mentioned before, his decision to push for a war for the sake of an unneeded expansion, and at the funeral of these young men, to further push for them to continue to die for his sake, for his greed, just because he's unwilling to lose his social status because he made a mistake. I believe that's his worst deed, because that truly shows that his greed is truly unforgivable vice. Thucydides is a political rival of Pericles and the one who actually recorded his funeral oration. He's a figure who does not quite exude the same greed virtue that Pericles does, even simply from the fact that he does not skew the speech that Pericles makes. And he does not make Pericles seem evil when he easily could have. Thucydides makes a pretty unbiased representation of what happened at the speech, even though it was his rival and enemy who made it, and it would have been in his favor, and he could have let his greed get the best of him to make Pericles seem even worse, showing that Thucydides does not embody the greed vice. Overall, Pericles fails to represent the virtue of honesty, respectfulness, and genuine nature that democratic countries wish to portray and have. And it was due to his greed for more land, power, and social status that this is the case. And whether this is the case of democratic countries not being able to house genuine, honest leaders, or Pericles simply being a bad example who failed and fell victim to his greed, is still to be seen. Thank you.